You are now listening to Femme podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme.
Hey, fam. We have another lovely guest for you today. And this one, as well as so many of our others, was recommended by a past podcast guest. So if you guys remember Ryan Little, do you remember what season he was on, Carolina? It's a couple seasons ago, I think.
Yeah, I would say the last one, the one before. Guys,
Yeah.
We have so many seasons.
Just look him up. Like, there's a little search bar on our website, on our podcast page. You can search for the guests. Check out his episode. It's really great. And he has sent us several other guests. He's just a really great resource and super supportive. So thank you, Ryan.
We love you, Ryan.
Yes. But today's guest is Amanda Payton, and she is a professional actress. She has done film and TV, and I mean, she's done everything. She's done commercials. She's in a musical right now, which she'll tell you guys about. But we really just wanted to chat with her about her experience on set in TV in general, because that's not something Carolina or I are super familiar with, and what life has been through the strike. You guys are going to be listening to this episode probably about a month after the strike has ended. But yeah, it's been over, I think it was like 114 days. It's like the longest SAG has ever striked. So we're finally free from it, you guys. And I'm sure you've been hearing all about it. But yeah, you'll get a little insight into a working actress's life since the strike. And we talk about a lot of things. We talk about race. We talk about just how to, become your character and what it's like playing so many different characters, but finding yourself in that character. So this is a very actor-centric episode, but you guys are going to enjoy it no matter what field you are in. And even if you're just, an audience member, you just like hearing about what the industry is like, I think you guys will still really get some really valuable stuff from this episode.
Yeah, it's really valuable, really current, up to speed on like what's been happening here in Hollywood, what changes we're trying to make. I mean, we made Sync about advanced technology, a film on advanced technology. And so I think this is just the kind of time we need to take to reevaluate as a whole, like in every industry, really, like the implications technology has and, where we are with racial acceptance and just being really inclusive. So I'm really hope we're holding on the edge of our seats to see, what actually the agreements are. We don't know at this day and time. That's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, we're hoping to that they made an agreement that was fair and really just for the wellness of everyone. So we'll see. But yes, you guys will enjoy this episode. I think you'll get some real takes from Amanda. She was amazing, beautiful person. Love the hair.
Just say beautiful person, beautiful hair.
Beautiful person, beautiful hair. I just turned 30.
You didn't already know.
You didn't already know. I just turned 30. I'm aching. I have a little sinus headache today, guys. So I'm sorry I'm a little unwell. I'm not my usual self, but enjoy the show. And let's give it for Amanda.
Yes.
So my birthday was on November 9th. The strike ended on November 9th.
Because of you. Thank you.
Yeah. You're so welcome. I have carpal tunnel. You're welcome. Sacrifices for everyone. It's okay. Worked real hard. Actually, every day I would drive. I work in post-production, so I'm passing the studios on my daily commute, and I'm honking loud and proud, every day. So I'm gonna miss a little bit of that. That was so that was a lot of wrist effort, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. That was an easy way to get a lot of steps in.
Yeah.
On that line. Every time people would honk, it would kind of startle me, though. I was like, oh, yay! Solidarity.
You were like, yes, solidarity. Well, Amanda, welcome to the show. You're obviously a fabulous actress that we're so excited to chat about all things acting and since we're talking about the strike, what has your experience been as a union actor? And, what does that even mean for people who aren't even in the union yet?
Being a union actor means that you're a part of SAG-AFTRA. At first it was just SAG and now it's become SAG-AFTRA, and basically it's just you're protected. So you pay dues to the union, and then in turn the union protects you. So there are certain rules so that you can't be overworked. There are rules in the amount of pay that you're getting, and there's basically it's a checks and balances system so that we're not being abused as actors.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which is in the non-union world where Tessa and I still live, and we love to live at the moment, it was important to us on our set that we don't like overwork our actors. We still kept it like SAG ran, just without the extra stuff, because I think that is really important for the mental health and wellness of everyone on set. So it's nice to be protected by a union and make sure you get paid and paid fairly. And that was kind of, one of the stipulations or things that they were trying to improve as in terms of the SAG-AFTRA like deal that was going on, was I think a lot about residuals and fair pay.
Residuals. They haven't yet released the full breakdown of what was hashed out, but I know there's a lot about AI language, a lot about residuals. I heard that there's something about relocation fees, which is really great. My first job, like my first series regular ever, was in Canada, and instead of keeping us all in like the Sutton Hotel, which is where usually you'd stay if you're in Vancouver, they kind of just threw us all a chunk of money and said, okay, you're gonna live here for 3 months, and like here's your chunk of money to relocate. And so lake is not quite enough to cover wherever you're staying there, a car rental, and then also to maintain your lifestyle back at home, because you still need, it's only 3 months, you still need your apartment, or you still need to pay your mortgage. And so just protections on more levels. And I think probably when they came up with the amount, there wasn't quite as much inflation as there is now. And Vancouver's like a particularly expensive place.
Yeah.
And I was able to make it work, but like a lot of people with children and stuff, like that's not.
I didn't even realize that was one of the stipulations in this agreement. I'm really glad to hear that it is.
I mean, I don't know any specifics yet. I just like before we hopped on here, was looking at a Deadline article that was kind of said that there was some changes around that as well.
Yeah. And just to kind of break it down really quickly for listeners that maybe aren't in the industry but are just interested, like you had mentioned, a lot of the kind of big key issues were like residuals, which is for people that are listening that may not know, residuals are something that, actors are getting money as their show is ran again, and over time, like that really adds up to a chunk of money. And with streamers, actors weren't getting that. So they're getting, an upfront lump sum of money, but that only lasts so long, especially in Los Angeles. And for a show that's running over and over and people are streaming thousands of times, you're not getting paid any of that. Like that's crazy. And for a long time, streamers were new media. And that's kind of how they got away with it. But we've been in streaming world for quite some time now. So that definitely needed to change.
What happened in the music industry, where it was like first it was just like CDs, and that was the main thing, and then it started streaming, and then people steal. It's just like tons of mess. So we just needed to sort it out. We're still sorting it out. There's probably going to be more and more communication.
Yeah, it just feels like the right time for something like this as a whole. And, with you highlighted AI as well, like if listeners, you haven't understood what that means, like they were trying to scan your face, the studios were, and just use the actor without like ever paying them in the future.
Like dead actors without paying their estate or having any kind of like permission. So kind of scary.
Scary and not okay and creepy. Like all the things. We don't want that. So I just really think it made sense for it to happen now. I mean, the people who are rolling their eyes, like it's time. We need, things are changing, and we need to, that it's important to, it's sad that we have to have a strike to make changes happen, but like it's needed. It's purposeful. It has a purpose. And I think right now I'm really hoping that, things improve and we can all
those deal points.
I'm very anxious to read it all. So that'll be good.
And I'm curious to know too, like how it affected your career? I mean, obviously you couldn't work. I know a lot of people went FICOR and stuff, but
No,
it was a long time.
absolutely. Yeah, we could work commercially,
Mhm.
which was great. But everybody who was doing series now is like, okay, I'm ready for commercials. So it was crowded. And also the strike did affect the commercial world.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly why, but it got a little bit more quiet in the commercial arena. I don't know if that's because, we're just going to be playing reruns. I don't know what that is, but it did get a little slower than it usually is. But that was good to have. And I personally, right before the strike, was asked if I wanted to be a part of the Fast and the Furious musical parody and play
Oh,
Tyrese,
uh-huh.
bald cap.
Love it.
And I was like, yes. And this is something that I probably wouldn't have been able to do had there been no strike because I needed my time.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that wasn't really like a big money thing, but it's been fun and we're still doing it. Like, it's still going.
Oh, that's so fun.
That's been super fun. And my first
Wait, can we see
musical,
a clip? Like, I need to see this whole thing.
I can show you, but I know that we're like podcasting it. It is on my Instagram.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect.
But for anybody who's listening and who wants to see it, but I can show you guys.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What a treat.
Yeah. A lot of women were playing men
Mhm.
and men are playing women. And yeah, it's a musical parody and it's
Are you guys just seated in cars and like
they're
singing?
fake cars at the Typewriter Dynasty Theater. So this
Oh, love
Typewriter.
it.
this is not me, this one's me right here.
Oh my
Really bald and singing a lot.
I love it.
Oh my God. The cutoffs.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So I was trying to get buff for that role, you know.
Hell yeah.
That's Dominic Toretto right there. So yeah, I went to college with someone who was in the production and they were like, we need someone because the person playing Tyrese had 2 kids during the pandemic and like doesn't have the time and to like come back. And my friend was like, do you want to do this? I was like, absolutely yes.
Yeah.
So
The dream.
I love that. Speaking of college, I saw you went to CMU. I'm from Pittsburgh. Are you from that
really?
area as well? Yeah.
Yeah. Where in
Amazing.
Pittsburgh?
From an hour south, so like right on the border of Fayette County. Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. I love we're East Coast people.
No.
Carolina's from New Jersey. Like we love seeing other East
Coast
Coasters.
New York. So I was born
Love it.
here, but my family in New York. So I vibe with
Yay.
you.
Amazing.
And then you were recommended to us by our dear friend Ryan Little, who had the most to say about your gorgeous hair.
Oh my gosh, I love him. He hypes up my hair.
And your hair deserves to be hyped.
He's an incredible director, you know. I demanded a trailer and, you know, for my hair as well.
Yes.
Even the
Yes.
writer.
They're beautiful, beautiful girls. I am like, they're stunning. How did you two meet?
Until I was like 24. Hated
wow.
it.
Yeah.
Really?
Monica with all like blonde, straight hair, beach. I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
My mom,
Now everyone wants that hairstyle.
My mom's white, my dad was black, so
Uh-huh.
no one knew what to do with it. But
Yeah.
I think I figured it out, and now Ryan hypes me up for my hair. Just so nice.
I love it. How did you and Ryan meet, by the way?
I worked with him.
Okay.
On his Christmas movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So a
That's what I thought. I was like, she looks familiar. I feel like I've seen.
Christmas.
Aww.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So we worked together in Utah. Right. It was like during the pandemic.
Okay.
He was like incredible. At one point, because we had to like test every day. It was like in the pandemic.
Oh.
And we were like testing every day, and then like he had an exposure at one point, so he had to direct from his car, and so he was like directing. He was like behind the key, he was everywhere, and it was such a fun experience. It was not even.
He
So-
seems like the kind of person who would just like be able to handle that stress so well. Like
making jokes and having fun.
Yeah.
So fun. It was so yeah.
Oh,
That's so
awesome.
important on set, just in general, but let alone like in a pandemic when everybody's like, "Oh, we don't know if we're safe."
And it was just like I was on every single page because it was like pulled through my eyes, and we did it in like 2 or 3 weeks with like 6-day weeks with like 12-hour days. And I'm telling you, like, it did not feel exhausting. Like, it was so fun. And I feel like that's the responsibility. I listened to his interview with you guys, and he was like, it's the responsibility of the director to like set the vibe of the set.
Yeah.
I feel like it is. And I think it's also the responsibility of the actor in the number one position, because other actors are always going to look to that actor, which is what I learned from some like incredible number ones throughout my career. And I mean, I've seen a number one lift up the set, and I've seen a number one like push down the set as well. And so when I was working with Ryan, being like the number one on the call sheet, I was able to like take that in.
Yeah. That's an important thing to like take note of, because, you know, sometimes I think as actors, we don't really think about our responsibility beyond just playing that part on set, you know, but it is everybody's responsibility to make sure that it's a good set, to make sure that, you know, you're bringing people up, you're being helpful, but you're also staying out of the way when you need to. And just, you know, that everybody's like working together and meshes well.
Yeah. And being a mouthpiece for other people who like don't have as much like respect on the set, which sadly, like, I hate that that's a fact, but it's absolutely true. Like, I've had number ones when I'm coming in, like, be my mouthpiece. And so I want to do that, you know, or like regulars, if you're coming in for like a guest spot and there's a series regular, like, I have fully had, I won't like name names, but I've fully had like someone who was playing a love interest of mine go to like hair and makeup and be like, okay, listen, she is a Black woman. You guys, what are the products that you need for her? You need to reach out to her, and you need to ask, and you need to, and this is like a big set. And then they reached out to me, and I sent them what I use, and they had it all there. And it was because this person had done that. And that's like, you know, you're going to get a better product.
Yeah.
He wanted a good, like, love interest, and he wanted a good scenes. Like, he wanted his stuff to be meaty.
Yeah.
And when we're worrying about hair, like, we can't be telling the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mentioned to Carolina, that was one of the things that I saw was on the new agreement, or at least proposed, I guess, because they haven't really released the details, but that, you know, every set for hair and makeup, to make sure that you have someone who knows how to do different skin tones, different hair textures. Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be huge. I don't trust it until I see it, but I bring my own stuff. I just bring my own stuff to every set. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, even like with, like, we ran into on our set this summer with lighting. We had one of our actors who has darker skin, and it was a night scene. So it's kind of darker already. And it was like kind of like blue and purple lighting and that sort of thing. And we're watching from Video Village going like, okay, is he actually lit well enough? Like, do we need to put a little more light on? And how do we make sure that he looks just as good as Carolina, who was sitting next to him on the couch with fair skin? Like, we have to make sure that's really important, you know?
I mean, these are the problems, because, I mean, when I was growing up, there wasn't much combination of Black people and white people in the same shows. There was shows for Black people, with Black people in it, and there were shows for white people. I mean, like, growing up, like, I think that's something that has actually like really sustained me even as an actor now, because like growing up, I was like, I could see myself on a Friends type of show. I'm not on that show, but I see like Sherry Shepherd, who has like even like 1 or 2 episodes, hop in, and like I could do that. Yeah. So when I came out here, I wasn't like, okay, I'm ready to be the star. I was like, I understand what this is. Yeah. And I'm down to like work really hard. And I know that I have to work harder than my friend who's not the same race as me. And I've seen a lot of people quit because they like thought it was going to be maybe a little easier, or that there would be some more reward. And I feel like it's like a blessing and a curse, because I kind of was like, I see that there's not that much opportunity. So I'm down to kind of like live the lifestyle of like trying to like show people that I'm more than my skin color. I'm that, and that, you know, it's white people can be interested in my story too. Yeah. Just be on BET. Like, I could also in Friends.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's like, that's what I love about the show because, as a white girl, like that's not, I'm mixed, I'm half Colombian. And so I feel like my agents didn't know what to do with me. I mean, being mixed was really in 2016, but still they would send me out.
Were they trying to push you into white, or were they trying to push you into like Hispanic, or what were they trying to?
Super Latina, where again, I do think like we could also show like white Latina women on, and we don't all have to have dark skin. But I knew I would never get casted. I was like, no, like I'm not that fit. I'm mixed. And so it just was so challenging. So now like
Did you ever get to play or audition for anybody Colombian, or was it always like
Mexican? Yeah.
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 Colombian stories are retelling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm glad we're talking about this too, because I think a lot of just, like audiences don't really realize, they're like, oh, well, I'm seeing more representation on the screen. So like, that means things are getting better, right? And it's like, well, sure, they are slowly getting better, but like, these are still the challenges that are being faced, and the audiences don't necessarily get to see or hear that side of it all the time, you know?
I mean, even me being half black, half white, I'm more acceptable in some roles than someone who's fully black. And being raised in Santa Monica by a white Jewish mother, and a very like well-spoken, well-educated father who code switched like crazy when he was in Santa Monica to not be like scary to the other Santa Monica moms. I speak and look a certain way that makes it palatable to people who are on the fence or
right,
who haven't been exposed to black people at all.
Yeah,
right.
I kind of like, I call it Obama-ing.
Yeah.
Some people will hate it. Some people will still hate it, but some people will be like, that one's okay. So yeah.
Have you guys seen the Black Klansman? Yeah.
Oh no, I never saw
So good. So good. I was just like, they exactly. It's like he had to talk like a white man to get him convinced that he was one of them. And it's like, yeah.
I was a master at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, no, I think how do you feel about it these days? Do you feel like you're finally being represented? Or, I mean, we just said that acknowledge it's still a push, but.
I booked my first specifically half black, half white character, like specifically written for that, for a pilot last year that didn't get picked up. And that felt really cool. Other than that, I'm really trying to like be open and honest about my experience, and also just like keep my feet pointed in the right direction and just keep stepping forward instead of like getting angry or excited or happy or like getting caught up in the feelings of it. It's like the auditions are flowing. Let's do this. And like we can download it later and like figure out how we feel while like giving room to like feeling the feelings. But I do know that it was really cool to audition for and then book a character who was specifically half black, half white.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've done characters who were, when I worked with Ryan, Marie Osmond was my mother. And in pictures of my father, who was like deceased, was black. So like that was cool to like, but I'm looking like written only for a person who is black. Yeah.
Right. And that's where I felt like I was like, can I have like a half white, half Latina girl, please? Like, can we see some of that? No, I can totally understand.
That was really cool. I also like, probably like 7 years ago was when I first started seeing like any ethnicity, which was cool.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah.
Any
ethnicity, which is, like when I walk in, and I feel like a lot of like, so I've worked a bunch on like Chuck Lorre shows, and I feel like the casting directors on those shows are really good at, I mean, whenever I'd walk into their office, like back pre-pandemic, it was always like, if it was a short list, it was always like me, an Asian girl, a blonde girl, a Hispanic girl. It was all over, like a full black girl, and like it just didn't matter. Even like different weights, like people would be like mid 40s overweight, mid 50s underweight. Like it was just like all over ages and
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That is really good to hear because that's something I've been noticing a lot more. Like personally, I'm an actress and I gained a lot of weight over the pandemic that I still haven't lost. And like thinking about, how does that affect my career? And it's, with age as well, I'm also aging into different roles. So part of me is like, well, it doesn't matter as much. I'm not playing the ingenue anymore anyway, but it's still, you see people on TV
of always.
Yeah.
And it's just, it looks different. Like now we turn on the TV and we see more people, more, they're not perfect yet, but not to like overthink that as much as just like, because even if there's not an example of it, you can be the example of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just every opportunity that comes my way, I'm like, let's go, let's try.
Yeah,
no matter what.
exactly.
I don't feel like I'm thin enough or fat enough or white enough or black enough. We're just going to try and like have faith in the process.
Yeah, I think that's really important because it's not going to change if nobody pushes it to change. If we're saying like
10 years ago, would I ever play Marie Osmond's kid? I'd be like, no, right. Even though my mom is.
Yeah.
But like it was like the industry wasn't ready for that. And even some people were confused by it. Like even on set, like we were at like a location, someone was like, how is she your mom? And she's half white. Her dad was black. Like, what?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, no, I get it because you don't see that on TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't hold it against her either because it was just like,
yeah.
good question.
Good question.
When I went as a woman, and they're different things. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I wanted to hear about like, we've stalked your IMDb. I can't talk today. I saw that you have done a bunch of films and then TV shows. And as someone who hasn't done like a TV show yet, what do you like one over the other? And what's kind of your experience getting ready for either?
I love both.
Yeah.
I just love working. So it's just like I fall in love with the character.
Yeah.
With TV shows, if you are doing a one-off, like one episode, quick, easy, to the point, wham, bam, done. Pretty much when you audition, or I've found that like my audition is like the prep for the character. Because I've already like, you can kind of plug it, right? Like if you pull out the audition, plug it in. If you're in more of like a regular position, it develops. It's more of an ensemble piece. It feels more like you're in a play because you get to know everyone and like you have your little family. And although you're not doing the same thing every day or every night, you are settling into your character.
Yeah.
With regulars that I've done over a period of time, it gets easier and easier to memorize. The writers start writing for you. And then with films, it moves a little slower. So even if you are just in like one or two scenes, it might be over a period of multiple days. Whereas TV, you're in one or two scenes, they're going to try to knock it out in one day.
Okay.
There's sometimes a little bit more time. Sometimes there's not. Actually, like with the Christmas movie, we had like no time.
Yeah.
But I fall in love with the character and then I kind of approach it in a similar way. The big difference is that with the film, you have the beginning, middle, and end. And with TV, you're kind of like exploring and learning your character as other people are. So like, or as the writers are, and the producers are, and like as the folds. So like, I might decide like, oh, this is who a parent is. This is who my parent is. And like I've done my work and like, this is who this parent was. And like, I had a narcissistic brother or whatever it is, or like my brother was murdered. And then, 3 episodes later, they're like, okay, we're going to introduce your brother. And here, you're like, well, in my mind, it's more of it's give and a take and a dance. It's also, that makes it so much more fun. It's really fun.
Right.
It's cool to have like the whole map out, but it's also kind of cool to like not know exactly where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that sense of adventure because TV has always intimidated me as an actor because of that. I'm like, what if the backstory I make is wrong, you know, and then you don't find out until you're already doing it. And just like, yeah, I guess the not knowing and how quickly it moves and all of that, I always found very intimidating.
Yeah.
So I love that you would just embrace it.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't love not knowing what's going on in my life.
Mhm.
Like I'm a very cautious.
Yeah.
But I guess this is the one aspect that I feel safe within
Yeah.
acting, which is, I mean, probably why I love it so much.
I think that's true for a lot of actors. I mean, like, I know it's true for me. Like, in my personal life, I don't like crying in front of other people. Like, it makes me so uncomfortable. But then acting, I'm like, yes, give me a scene where I need to like fucking break down. I love it, you know? So I think a lot of actors can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been like therapy for me being in some shows because like if what the character's going through like parallels something that I've gone through, and I wasn't like in a place to fully feel it when I was going through it because I tend to like, you know, fight, flight, and freeze.
Right.
I like freeze or fawn. And a lot of times I'll play characters who will like fight. And that's a really interesting experience because all of my own stuff starts rushing back.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm actually kind of working through my own crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Therapy where you get paid to do the therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The life of an actor. I love it.
1,000%
Yeah.
relate. Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
What characters do you think you typically play then? Like what emotion do you think they really bring? Is it usually a guarded character?
I was talking about this with my mom actually the other day because
Yeah.
I played a lot of different types of characters, everything from like a scientist to a podcast host to right now the show that I've been recurring on is I'm playing an HR person in HR for like a fire department, a bartender, but all of them are really intense, passionate, and they work really hard.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think like my intensity shows through a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny because like when I first came out here, like if you look at the beginning of my IMDb, it's like party girl at a party, the drunk girl, tipsy chick. Like my first 4, like I think I just correctly named my first 4 credits.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now I'm like, go get it, like going and getting it, and like getting it done, and like being officious, but like still kind of fun and funny. But pretty like direct, I would say.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like good casting directors are going to cast you for you, you know, and it's like you can play any type of like role as far as, you know, what their profession is or what they've gone through in their life or whatever, but like their core, like who they are, if it's a good casting director, they're going to cast you because you just exude that anyway, you know?
Yeah. Which is funny because like, I don't know about you guys, but like when I first started, I was like, I don't want to be like Meryl Streep. I want to play the old man rabbi in Angels in America. And then the next year I want to do Sophie's Choice. And then the year after that.
Yep. 1,000.
In school, I was always like the character. Like I remember like we did Three Sisters. I played Anfisa, the like maid. I had a big fat suit on. Like I was always trying to be the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here and it's like, oh, like they just kind of want to see different colors of me. Okay.
I was going to say, so do you feel like that direct intensity parallels to your own character you embody?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's kind of a wake-up call, I think, for a lot of actors that come out here that, you know, grew up doing like community theater, for example. You know, it's like in your small hometown or whatever, you know, and especially on the stage, it's like you get to play all of these things that you're never probably going to have that opportunity to do in Hollywood, right? So for some people, it's kind of depressing. They're like, oh shit, I thought I would get to do a lot more fun stuff. But I think for a lot of people too, it's like once you realize and accept that, it's like, oh, okay, well then I can stay in this box and get somewhere. And then once I get those credits under my belt, once casting knows me, it's like I can expand from there, you know?
Yeah. I also don't know that I feel like it's a box. And I think the only reason that, so I notice it because I'm in me, but like if I look at, like, I did this British comedy where I play Dr. Parfit. It's called Code 404. We did 3 seasons, and the audition came in, and I looked at it, and it was like, we are looking for a stand-up comedian who's like a nerdy, like a really intense scientist saying like really intense science words, but also it has to be really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's really American. And so I was like, that's generally not what I play. Like, I generally play like a love interest with like a snarky attitude. Like, that's my vibe. I like pulled my hair back like into a bun. I like frizzed out the front. I like got glasses.
Oh my God, yes.
Lenses. I was like eating during my audition. I like wore no makeup. And then I ended up getting that role, and that was terrifying because I was like,
Really?
I don't have to play it. Like, I never thought I would have.
Yeah.
And so that felt so different than playing the love interest in 911 Lone Star, which is not a comedy, which is like, and I'm like very officious, and you know, I have my hair down, and I get to wear cute earrings and like a nice little suit.
Yeah.
Very different. So it feels very different, but when I look at the character traits of both, I can make the connection between the fact that the scientist was like very intense about her job, and so is the love interest HR person. Or in the show that I did with Brian, like the whole vibe of the whole movie was like, I had to choose between, like, I felt like I had to choose between my career and a love life. And I was always choosing my career until
Yeah.
a beautiful man shows up in my office and at Christmas time, and love ensues, right?
Yeah.
It all feels really different. And that was the first like lifetimey, like feel goody thing that I ever did. And so Brian was like, as a director, he was like always reminding me like, light, bring it up lighter. And like, you know, like you don't be like, oh, like feeling all the, like what, it was like a breakup scene, and I'm like, like snotting, like crying, like just having my Meryl Streep moment. It's like, that's not what this movie is. Cry cuter.
Just cry cuter. You just need a tear.
Just a couple tears.
Yeah. Just a couple tears.
It felt like a box.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
It's felt like I've gotten to do stuff all over the map. But when I look at it to try to draw the conclusions of what it is,
and it sounds like you're good at like finding what it is in that character that you can relate to, which is, you know, like in every acting class, that's what they teach you to do is, you know, you want to make it truthful by connecting to that character in a way that you're not just playing them, but you're finding yourself in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an actor who doesn't audition, and I'm like loud and proud about it in my own ways, I want to hear from an actor who does audition for the actors on our show. And Tessa, of course, can chime in. Like, what is it right now in this climate? How are you booking your roles and staying consistent?
After the strike, I mean, it's been nothing for 6 months, but before that, it was pretty much all like commercially. There are some that you do it back in studio, but it's all been self-tape, followed sometimes by like Zoom callbacks. I've done Zoom chemistry reads. I've done tests via Zoom.
Wow, how is that?
It's just weird. It's like, at first I was like, I'm never going to book anything because I talk to a computer differently than I talk to a person. And then I booked something. So I was like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, I can. But I still feel like I talk to a computer different than I talk to a person.
Right. Even a self-tape, like it's so, I mean, I'm grateful that things are so remote now because it does allow people to live outside of LA, to be auditioning when they're traveling, to fit it in their schedule. Like that's all great. But I miss in-person auditions so much because you just, you don't have that connection. Like, sure, you have a reader when you're doing a self-tape, but like, it's just not the same as being in the room.
I miss my casting director friends. I really do.
Yeah.
I also love a self-tape because I'm the type of person where like, if something goes like slightly off in an audition, like I'm like rethinking it for forever.
Yeah.
Like even if I don't like need the job, I mean, even if it's like a commercial that is like not going to really run that much, like I'm the I'm such a perfectionist that I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
so with the self tapes, I am able to like be like, this is how I would do it.
Yeah.
This
Right.
is exactly how I see the character. Whether you agree with me or not, this is my vision for the character.
Mm-hmm.
Period. I'm proud of it.
Yeah. I love that.
So I do
do
like that, but I do miss, my casting director friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know people, you really do, and like
Mm-hmm.
you even get like little like notes, like you get notes from the casting director about like on the spot about stuff, and then also like those are the times where I'd come in and people would be like, that last role you came in to audition for, we really liked you, but we needed someone a little older, so that's why. So we're calling you in for this instead. Or well, you get like notes from it's so
You can actually, that little feedback is just so, I feel like, incremental and like
Absolutely. I miss it so much because personally, I can't tell you how many auditions I've gone in for that they've had me read for someone else when I've been there. That happens to me all the time. And like either that or I will get a redirection and it was like something clicks then that it's like, oh, they're seeing this. I didn't think about that. And then they'll love the audition, but I just needed that redirection.
which is huge.
Mhm.
They can pace you into the pace of the show.
Yeah.
So if I'm lagging, I can feel it, like musically. I can feel them trying to pick up the pace. And I'm like, oh, I'm slower than, especially with like a pilot. Where like you can watch, like if you get an audition for like Young Sheldon, watch it. Boom. You know how it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
The pilot, you don't know what's in their mind.
Yeah.
right.
You can look at what the directors and the producers have done previously, but it's a different vibe.
Yeah.
Always. So
That is such a good point. So breaking it down a little bit, when you're auditioning for a pilot, you're given a character, probably the premise of the show. What other details are they even giving you?
sometimes you get the script and sometimes you don't.
Okay.
And then you get a breakdown that, now what I've heard is that casting assistants will write the breakdown sometimes. Like they'll read the script and then write a breakdown. So not to like marry yourself to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because it's not really from the showrunner.
Yeah, like what I said, like with the British show that I did, like they wanted a stand-up comedian. Like I'm not a stand-up comedian. I could read that and be like, well, I'm not doing like that's not what I do.
You're like, I can play like bald cap, Fast and Furious man, but like
Gibson. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just taking that with like a grain of salt because it can also change, and sometimes it'll be like, we want someone who's like blonde and in their 30s, and then if I'm getting the audition, they're also interested in seeing what I could do with it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Or like it'll be like, she's the most beautiful woman, effortlessly so. She doesn't wear a stitch of makeup. It's always like it walks into a room and enchants it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, how do you play that? That's not.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say, like, thank you, because this is a lot of insight. And, like, Caroline and I are both working actors. Caroline is doing more of, like, her own projects and friends projects. Like, she said she's stopped auditioning. I'm still out there auditioning. But, like, getting to hear, especially about TV, because that's not really a realm that I'm in that much. And just, that whole process and, the experiences that you've had on set with, like, race issues and then hearing about the strike and all of that. So I think this is a really insightful episode. And I think that a lot of actors who, maybe aren't at that level yet, or especially that maybe just started like since the pandemic or since like during the strike, especially, getting to hear all of that. I think it's really inspiring and educational.
Yes,
so thank you. Yeah.
Chat with you guys.
Yeah. And what's next for you? Like, what would you like to promote or what's coming up on the docket for you?
I'm doing a Fast and the Furious because everything in TV and film is so up in the air right now.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say that we are doing a Fast and Furious at the Typewriter Dynasty Theory. It's a musical. You don't have to have seen the whole franchise to enjoy it and appreciate
Just watch a trailer. That's the whole franchise.
So much fun. And we're doing it November 30th and December 15th. We have 2 different shows. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know, watch 911 Lone Star like the last season.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely send us a flyer and we'll put it in our monthly newsletter that we send out to everyone.
Yeah.
Which again, listeners, subscribe because
Yes.
Yes. Or
and
like
as far as
my Instagram, so if anyone wants to check it out.
I was just going to ask if you want to share your handle or website or anything like that with our listeners as well.
I'm best at Instagram, and I'm not great at it, but if anything important is coming up, I always do try to post about it, but that's Amanda__Payton. So
Perfect.
my name, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for coming on today. This was a really great episode. And I'm glad that we finally got to meet you because Ryan recommended you ages ago. And just like we took a break from the podcast for a while. So we finally got to meet you and chat with you.
I love talking shop.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in every Friday for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals. We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also join the Femme Fam on Patreon. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.